Hello Gina, I'm Amanda.
Hi Amanda.
Hello. I work at Bridge North Community Hospital as an assistant practitioner. Can you tell me more about your role and where you work?
Yeah, so I've actually got two roles. So I'm a speech and language therapy assistant in the paediatric team, and I'm also a specialist nursery nurse. So different each day and keeping busy.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Paul, where do you work?
Hi, I work with the community neuro rehab team, and I actually work with three professions. So I'm speech and language, occupational therapy and physiotherapy assistant practitioner.
Yeah.
So,
Multitude.
what about you?
I work with the paediatric occupational therapy team as an assistant, working under the, well, they call it the mainstream team, so it's where the children are in mainstream schools and needing support.
So do you actually go around and visit the schools?
Yes, a lot of my work is going into schools and
Excellent.
supporting the teachers around the children.
How did you get into your job, your role?
I was a TA in a school initially, years and years and years ago. And it's great working as a TA, but you're working with a whole bunch of children. You can't ever deal with one child in particular, not a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then I saw this job come up and just thought that'd be interesting to be able to be specific and work with.
The individual child.
And and see them, help them along their way.
I was similar. I was working TA for years and saw speech and language coming into schools, and then sort of sparked my interest really. So
What about you, Amanda? Why did you start?
I started out as a HCA at a tender age of 19 on the wards. Started in theatre, always enjoyed nursing, but I think the shift work as well and everything else. But when my son started primary school, I thought it was time for a different change and a different role, and I'd seen the therapy team and see what they bring into a ward as well, not just community and things like that. So I applied went from a band 2 to a band 4, got that job in 2013. And then it's just evolved from there. So now ward work, we have very complex patients and things like that. So and supporting the discharges and things like that. So more occupational therapy for myself, but like yourself, a bit of nursing, a bit of physio, all incorporated into the role. And then I did my assistant practitioner during these years. So I went to Birmingham University for 2 years, doing my studying and things like that. So, but yeah.
How's that changed your job role by doing the assistant?
I think responsibility-wise more than anything else. I think you feel a bit more pride, don't you, when you've got something like a title in that way and you've done this university course. It was nice to be supported that way.
Yeah.
So I think in that way it brings a different level of your working and your understanding. And I think people respect you as that person, as that support worker, once you've sort of done the title and things like that, and you're working towards your competencies, and you finally get there, don't you?
I mean, that was the same for me. I started as a band 2 with the Shrewsbury and Telford Trust as a physio assistant. And after 18 months, I applied for a role with the Macmillan Integrated Therapy team at the hospital.
Yeah.
Got that and did 5.5 years with them, but was actually working dietetics and speech and language as an assistant practitioner. And then when CNRT advertised, and it was sort of to get back to the physio side of things as well, but it was also sort of mainly the speech. And I thought, give it a go.
Give it a go.
And sort of join the community team.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because it's nice to get out and about and not to be stuck in the hospital. It's sort of that freedom to get around the county.
It's nice because I can do visits for the hospital patients, so I build up a rapport and a relationship with the patient on the ward through the assessments and their families, and then I see the discharge through and get them home. So it's a very holistic sort of way of working, but it's good in that way. It's very nice to be out and about, but to see the other side of just a ward. Yeah, it just shows the multitude of jobs that a support worker does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, did any of you sort of ever think you would be ended up in healthcare? Was it a dream as a child sort of thing, or?
I think I sort of dabbled because of different roles, like support worker roles with children with special needs, adult special needs, medical needs. That sort of just progressed over the years, and then seeing the different teams coming into the schools and things, I thought, oh, I kind of want to do that, or
So
I want to see what they're
interest was
doing.
piqued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't sure whether to go to uni or try and get a job and work my way up, or now doing apprenticeship degrees and things like that. So there's lots of things sort of coming up which is exciting for people coming in. So
I mean, that is true. I mean, I sort of have considered the degree option of sort of possibly going as OT, but I actually really enjoy what I do as the assistant practitioner, doing a bit of the 3 different professions and the job roles. And I do know how important the role is within the team, because we've got a team full of registered professionals, but without blowing my own trumpet, without having a support worker there, they wouldn't be able to do half the work they do.
I do feel we're the backbone of things at times, and I've seen that for the amount of years I've been within the trust, is that people come and go, but once I think the support worker finds their feet and their job role, enjoy it, you find we are the backbone that keeps everything ticking over at times.
Yeah.
And I've found everyone really welcoming in both my roles. The teams that I work with are amazing, really supportive, and been really great.
How long have you done this role for?
About 2 years, but both, I did temp, they were both temp, and then last month I got 1 half permanent, and Christmas I got the other half permanent, so yeah.
Try to split
Happy.
the job.
Yeah.
And you do find that we do have these split roles, and we're trying to work this, work that, trying to bring it all together at some point, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate that mine's just a full-time role. But I do know there's quite a lot of other support workers that will do the split roles or split part-time roles for one, and then make up full-time hours somewhere else. But I think it's the flexibility of being a support worker, though, is you can go and do these different roles.
Yeah.
Which is nice and makes it more variable, doesn't it? Do you get much variety?
Yes, you get variety. And I think that the thing that I really love about support work is that you are there with the client. So that's a lot of my work is actually with the person that needs the support and the help. You're delivering what the professionals have assessed and feel needs to happen. And you're there with the client. And so for me, working with the children, that's great.
That's nice because you see the outcomes and the benefits like further down the line. You sort of see the whole journey, don't you? Then, which is nice.
I bet you can build some good rapport with some of the kids that you work with. And
Yeah, it is. It's lovely with children. I mean, it is still transient. You'll see the children through a while, and then they'll go off into schools, and you might pick them up again a few years later. With new needs now, but it is lovely to work with children. Children are,
It's always nice to see the outcome of your work, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Is yours mainly adults?
Yes, as is mainly adults. We obviously wards are different nowadays, but we do get a variety. We go from patients that need rehabilitation for fractures to fast track patients. So there's nothing similar. Everyone's so different, the caseload, so it's trying to work that caseload. There's only 3 of us on the OT team, sort of thing. We support with the physios, and we're a good team, how we work together, and I think that's what makes the ward work good for me, is the fact that you work together to try and get the outcome with the physios and how we get this person home, and the nurses, to be fair. So, you know, it's a multitude,
it's that
variety, discipline, things that keep things going over. Knowing where you are and what you need to be doing, but like you say, working hands-on with the people that you're trying to do is probably the more beneficial thing for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
It's putting those patients first. And
Yeah.
getting them where they want to be.
And it's nice, I think, since COVID, and about yourselves, but it's nice to have relatives and things like that you can do face-to-face rather than having to do phone calls all the time and try and see people. So it's getting there, but that's made it more worthwhile since we've come out of COVID, is get back into the face-to-face conversations and
then to sort of interact with people and make them laugh.
Yeah.
Big part of therapy, I think.
Yeah.
Is
it is.
And sometimes I feel that as the assistant practitioner, I can almost forget the sort of the patient and look at the person, whereas the professionals sometimes are thinking about the condition, the sort of the patient healthcare issue.
Yeah.
And because, like you say, we're given the programmes, run the programmes, but you get to know these people as well.
Person-centred approach, isn't it, for you? Yeah. I do think it's a role that's not understood by many people, their titles and who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? And it's trying to get people to understand that this is a role, it is worthwhile.
Definitely.
And it's something that, you know, a lot of people, when I say I'm assistant practitioner, I don't know about with yourselves, they always have to ask me, what's one of those?
Yes.
What's one of those? And so you try and explain then what you are at that point. So, you know, it's trying to get that title out there and what we do. As a unit, don't we, as support workers?
I mean, I think generally in the public, people just think of healthcare assistants, which, again, another very vital role. They don't think of the therapies, the physios, the OTs having assistants. And we are important. I mean, my background was prison service. And when they closed the local prison, it was a case of, I don't quite know what to do. And I literally saw an advert for the physio assistant role at the hospital. I thought, it seemed like a nice bunch. Well, I took prisoners there. Let's go and apply for it. And 10 years later, so it's not that I come from a healthcare background, something completely different. But the opportunity, I've gone from that band to be having everything looked on, couldn't sign my name to anything, everybody had to do everything for me, to now be in the band for giving the caseloads, supposed to be responsible, which I tried to
do. It's a role that's sort of in between everything, isn't it? You're not quite the professional with whoever they are, and underneath you're sort of stuck in the middle of it all, aren't you, really? So it's trying to negotiate your way of where you are within those tiers of grading, isn't it, really, sometimes? But it's a good role, I think, to be fair. But then I suppose
one of the huge things for me as a band 4 is having that responsibility that you can take the programme you're given, but you can adapt it as well. If you get so far, no, they need to move in this direction, you can do that without going back and reporting. So it's worth thinking of it as a career progression. The other thing also is, if anybody's thinking about becoming a physio or becoming an OT, the number of professionals I've met that started off as support workers. They get that background, they get that knowledge. It's always going to help them. So there's ways forward with this role.
And there's new ones now as well, isn't there? It's not just through the uni, there's apprenticeships and things that they come in through. And there's different ways of getting in, isn't there? From being a support worker to becoming professional.
And it'd be nice to know the trust are supporting the people that are there, know the work and everything else, isn't there? Where the NHS works and things like that, and try and support them with the apprenticeships and people that know how things are run and how it can work and what they can bring to that role.
They're also looking at a level 5 qualification for the assistant practitioner. Is the only ones that are out there at the moment are some really for nursing.
Oh right, okay.
And there's nothing necessarily for therapies, but they're looking to develop something. So hopefully in the future there will be a level 5 therapy qualification as well.
They've been talking in my teams as well about that for progression for the team. So they don't want to lose anybody to leave and go somewhere else, but they're making these roles so that there's more progression and lots of things in the future. So it's good. Yeah. It's exciting.
And have they supported you in?
They've been really supportive. So I'm a single mum, and they've supported me doing school runs and flexible working. And I've also got ADHD, and because I do something different every day, that really works for me. And they said, do you want to do this? No, I'm really happy going different places doing this. And
so you feel well supported?
Yeah, really supportive of mental health and life really. It's a really nice balance. So,
That's good.
yeah.
I think mine came from when the assistant practitioner role, it was at Birmingham University, came from who was then my my line manager, an OT, who suggested it. I applied for it, went for the interview, and then she supported me while I went off to uni, because it was only once a month. I used to have to go off to the University of Birmingham and then do the coursework in between working and having 2 children at home and things like that. So, but you know, she was very, very good. I'd get some study time if there was a bit of free time or anything. She'd always help me with my study cases and things like that, just to try and help, just to make sure I was on the right track of getting there. So, but no, the 2 years I spent at uni up until the point where we sort of got to the end of that, no, she was very good indeed.
That's good. I mean, the role I've moved into at CNRT didn't exist before I moved into it. They'd never had a band 4 before.
Oh, okay.
The highest I'd had was a band 3. So to have someone with that sort of responsibility, they weren't sure how it was going to work.
Yeah.
So along with my line manager at the time and the other professionals, we've sort of built the role between us, which has been really good to sort of work with them and have their support. And because it was, we don't know what you don't know. But no, I've always found the registered professionals to be very supportive.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They're more than happy to pass on their information and knowledge because it helps them. As we said, we're important to them. If they can support, if they can be happy that we can just get on with things, it helps them as well.
I certainly find within my team that they encourage you to look for training opportunities. So, you know, pointing you in directions where you might find something that interests you and then putting it forward for consideration. So on a sort of a yearly basis.
Yeah.
For that continued development.
And I think there's more out there, the better it is for all of us, whatever job you're doing at that point, isn't it? Just to learn those new skills and bring those skills, you know, if you bring them back to your own team, you know. I'm off to an amputee clinic this month to have a look at their clinic, because we have amputees on the ward, and yes, I know, but it's also good to learn other things from a different side.
It is. From
how they do. So, you know, we're given the opportunity to go off there for a few hours and look at that. So, you know, getting the time to go off and look and see how other people work, it can only be beneficial for everybody, especially the patients, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately when I joined CNRT, was slap bang in the middle of COVID. So the opportunity to go and shadow were a bit restricted, but now that opportunity to go and shadow these other services,
you're encouraged to,
is highly encouraged, because, like you say, bringing knowledge in from elsewhere is going to help everybody. So.
Do you get much training offered to you, Heather?
Yes,
Do you go off to other departments, or is it just?
We could do shadowing, or it could be training somewhere else that has been put on, and then we can go off to that. And then in-house training as well. So we have regular CPD sessions where somebody who's looked into something or done training on will then share it with the team. So
After a recent discussion with my manager, I've just done progressing neurodiversity within the workplace conference, not just to help me, but I felt really valued that was something that my manager's thought about, but also to help other people and new people coming in. So that's really lovely to be part of.
So we have the students come, obviously initially they're with the occupational therapist or the physio, but they do have time with ourselves on the ward. From our perspective, they come and see our assessments and then try to follow a patient through on their journey through hospital, admission, discharge and things like that. So that's what we bring with students. I think people do see a different side when they work on wards and things like that. So it's good to have that variability within their student learning of how things are. So, but we do have students coming in, and we do have time with them.
We've got a physio student with us at the moment. He's got another few weeks, and like you say, he's basically there with the physios, but any students will come and spend time with myself, which I think is important because
I agree.
it lets the students know that they have these support workers out. When they get into their roles, hopefully they will have these support workers.
Because that will be part of the team, won't it? That will be the team. There will be a support worker somewhere within a team, won't there, somewhere when it comes to therapy.
And it's when I was at the hospital, it was a case of get the brand new band fives in, give them to Paul. I mean, you know, I don't have the experience with the physio, but I've got the life experience to help them through the start on the new role. So it's the students and the newly qualified need us to help them.
It's quite scary for them, isn't it, when they first come as well, isn't it? You know, when you're out of your comfort zone in that way, sometimes you just need that sort of team just to settle you in so they can experience a good sort of time working within wherever they may be, isn't it? Rather than feeling scared of what, when they're qualified, them understanding how the role works and as a team, as a unit, that you can work together and you will be okay.
The thing is, once they're qualified, if we've made a good impression, they can come back and work for us. Get them into the trust.
Yeah.
I think my advice to anyone thinking about joining or looking at roles is to just get in, just start, use any knowledge you've got. You can explain in an interview what you do, how it can add to a role. It might not be something directly linked, but there's always things you've done in life or past experiences, personal experiences that always add to things. Working with people, obviously. I think just getting in and experiencing it firsthand really would be my advice.
I mean, I know there's college qualifications out there that young people can do in sort of the healthcare and what have you. But there's, without being rude to any of us, some of us are a little older than a lot of people out there. We're not college students.
No.
You know, I was, 41 when I started. And like you say, if you see the advert, apply for it, because you never know. And if it's something that you think you sort of just want to give it a go, go for it, because the opportunities once you're in are great. So it's worth, like you say, just going for it.
Yeah, and the first time I applied for one half of my role, I didn't get, but they knew my name and they got used to seeing me, and they're like, oh, it's Gina again. So I sort of got in that way. So I think you shouldn't be put off by if you don't get in first time or the role's not for you and you try a different role. I think it's good to keep trying.
It's quite varied, isn't it?
Yeah.
The different roles for support within the NHS. But also it's like I decided I love support. I don't crave to be into the professional role. I get my satisfaction out of supporting. But if you did want to climb higher, then those opportunities are there as well.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to start.
I think people have got to be assured it's a valued role. It's one that's not advertised as much as I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be put out there that we are here and what we are. And I think that would be something that could be sort of brought forward into trying to get people in the fact that it's a valued, validated role, and it's very worthwhile.
I didn't even know it existed when I worked in schools.
Isn't it?
And you know of a support assistant in schools, but I never heard of them, like you said, unless it's the healthcare worker. That's there's a whole host of opportunities, isn't there, in support in the NHS.
And I think the nice thing is if you can get your foot in the door as a support worker, just because you join as an OT support worker, you don't have to stay as that.
No.
There's the other opportunities, and like I say, I've worked with dietitians, speech and language, physio, OT now. Once you're in, you then see the other opportunities. You see the other adverts, and you can progress.
I've been working with a lady that's deaf, so for sort of 13 years now. So, but just shows that the support doesn't have to be that you've got to be anybody with any sort of disability. It's that kind of role that you can do no matter what.
And And there's plenty of people out there that have got an awful lot to offer to these roles.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's the life experience
Yeah.
rather than qualifications sometimes that you bring in.
Definitely.
But
And maybe that's something for an older generation like ours, that you can do this job. You don't have to be young just to do this sort of job.
Yeah.
It's valued up until a certain age. It doesn't, you can come in your 40s and 50s and still
Yeah.
do
Very
a
much
valuable
so.
job
Yeah.
and do
Very
a
much
good
so.
job.